Welcome back to The Truth Hurts, where we expose corrupt politicians, lying corporate media. I'm Jake Duesenberg, your host. Joining me back in studio, Meg and Jesse. What are we talking about today?
Yeah, let me pull it up on my side here. All right, I'm doing good. Yeah, things are going well here. I'm trying to pull up the comments on my end too, having all kinds of tech problems. But no, we got a lot of good stuff to get into. Between the potential government shutdown in Minnesota, we'll be talking about the special session. We'll be talking about healthcare for illegal aliens. It appears that Lisa Kamala Demuth is flip-flopping on that important issue, so we'll be talking about all of the details surrounding that. And then we'll get into the big, beautiful bill. We'll talk about what's going on at the federal level. So we'll start out local and hit the federal stuff at the end here.
If you want to interrupt us anytime, hit that Rumble Rant button. We'll go live to your comment. Running the dial is always Mr. Deep State himself, Dawson. Let's get right into it. This was Lisa Demuth, the Speaker of the House, Republican Speaker of the House, talking to the press. Let me get the order right. It went Democrat House and
the Democrats
Senate
went
leaders.
first. Yep.
Then it was Demuth and then Tim Walz. And that'll be important as we bring something up that was said by Melissa Hortman. This is Demuth. I'm still kind of thinking, like, I don't understand why Republicans are against separating the vote for illegals getting our health care coverage.
Right, because it's the easiest vote in the world to vote no against funding, free health care for illegal immigrants. I'm not sure why it would be a problem for it to be separate as well, but based on the clip that we're going to be watching, it's clear that the Republicans are open to having the discussion, having it be a single subject bill on its own, to have that passed separately from the health bill.
Some Republicans.
I had to ask
some Republicans, though.
Yeah, potentially. We'll have to see. It's not
because
clear
I don't think it's safe to say all Republicans. I think most of them are against it.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I'd have to think all of them should be. Even Lisa Demuth was saying she was against it. But I had to show you the clip because I thought, am I hearing this correctly? I couldn't believe it when the words were coming out of her mouth. And before we get to it, I'm just seeing, I missed the comments when we were first talking here. I was just getting set up, but I see we got Truth Seeker 0450, Tucker 91, and EQs and Marty 1967. So appreciate all you guys tuning in, and I appreciate the well wishes for being back.
All right, let's go ahead and play the A1, Dustin.
Conversations around doing undocumented immigrant health care as a standalone bill looking like?
So as we had talked originally, that was never part of the discussion. It was not really brought up. That was an assumption that was made, as it would definitely travel in that health bill as expected. I know there's problems with getting that through with the DFL, and so some concessions and some of the things that we're looking at is if that would be broken out into a separate bill, there would have to be a guaranteed contingency that, say, funding for MDH or whatever that might look like, a contingency that would be a guarantee that that bill would both be passed and enacted.
So in other words, taking something essential from the Human Services bill and putting it and attaching it to that.
Just a guarantee. And in this room, we have been very transparent and working together, but just to allow assurances to the caucuses that feel that is a very important thing.
Okay, I think I have a little bit, after watching it for probably the fourth time, a little bit understanding what she's saying on the concessions there. But once again, it's very important to understand this. Despite the Republicans caving on basically billions of dollars, right? Like, they are locking in $14 billion, and they're spending our surplus money to bail out this enormous spending. Despite compromising on all that, and no shocker, we've called this one, the Democrats are like, we still want more. We want to make sure that illegal immigrants continue getting taxpayer money for their health care. And finally, the Republicans got a backbone. They're standing up on something. I mean, I'd much rather it be the tens of billions of dollars that were at stake and giving our surplus back, but at least they seem to be putting their foot down on one thing. However, Lisa Demuth seems to be caving on that. So what she's saying here, from what I read, is that she is compromising and allowing this provision that says illegals can get health care and putting it in a separate bill. I don't understand for the life of me why Republicans wouldn't be like, hell yeah, put that in another bill. Right. Let's have a single vote on that.
Right.
Why is that a bad thing?
Well, the only reason that, the holdup on that is what Hortman wants to make sure that she has the votes to be able to get through in the House. And, that's why the Democrats would be hesitant to making it a single subject bill. If they can stick it into an omnibus bill, of course that's what they're going to do, because a lot of these Republicans have already voted for the health bill that funds abortion as well. She talks about a contingency within there, as if it's a concession to say that the Department of Health deserves more funding, that would be the contingency for the Republicans to be able to support illegal, health care for illegal immigrants, or as Lisa Demuth likes to call them, undocumented Minnesotans.
Yep. That's what she says. Oh, my God. All right. So it just seems very obvious to me, like Republicans should be like praising this idea. Let's separate that from the big bill and let's get a roll call vote on it. So what I'm thinking, Jesse, is that essentially there are people inside the Republican caucus that don't want to take that vote. They're
Right.
too fearful to vote against funding for legals. What am I possibly missing here? What would be the other explanation and why you wouldn't want to separate that vote? And then
Right.
if you're a Republican strategist, get some vulnerable Democrats voting for that bill.
It shows that they've got, politician brain. They've got capital brain, because nobody outside of the Capitol is thinking like that.
Right.
Any regular Republican conservative Minnesotan that's out there in the state, it's not a tough idea for them to question, should we be funding healthcare for illegal aliens or not? It's an easy no. So the fact that it's a question for these Republicans, the fact that they see it as a negotiating token is a major problem. I'm seeing some comments here. I see Buddy036 asking what kind of backroom/shady deals are they negotiating without even calling a special session. That's a good point, because what we have right now is we have the leadership of both caucuses. We have Melissa Hortman for the Democrats and Aaron Murphy for the Senate Democrats. And then we have Lisa Demuth, who is representing the Republicans in these negotiations, along with Tim Walz. And it's, very clear that Lisa Demuth has dropped the ball. She isn't fighting for conservative interests. She is working to push forward a uniparty budget deal that is going to be killing the surplus. And she is on the exact same page as Walz and these other Democrats. So, the type of backroom deals that are going on, these are things that are being decided by a select group of people. They say that they're going to be delivering the votes, and we'll actually be showing a couple of clips to show that these leaders don't actually have a whole lot of respect for their members.
Let me bring up this graphic. I wasn't going to bring it up so quickly, but let's bring this up. I threw this together before we went live. It's what I would call the Republican caucus, how it's divided. I think there's essentially four factions. This actually works very well even with the Republican conference when you go to Washington, D.C. So you've got essentially a caucus made up of rhinos, and what I would describe a rhino as is somebody who is a Democrat. They're just running as Republican basically because of the district that they're in. This is very obvious. Tony Jurgens is a rhino. I don't think anyone could argue against a guy that literally loses the Republican primary and then endorses and campaigns for the Democrat, which gave the Democrats the majority in Minnesota. Okay? That's a rhino. He is not a Republican. He is a Democrat. He just knew that the district and the process was easier to run as a Republican. Okay? That's a rhino. And there's a bunch of those guys. Whether it's, Lindsey Graham up in the federal Senate, or if it's down here and it's Ron Krisha in the Minnesota House. They are in those caucuses. Then what you have is the political establishment. And these are the people that they might have some principles, they might have some views, but they are chameleons. They do the job to basically advance their career. I don't think you could have a principled whip, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like on the U.S. Congress, Tom Emmer is a political establishment type, right? On the House level, Jim Nash, the whip of the House, right?
Yeah.
I think Jim Nash probably has somewhat conservative views. Here's a better example. Wednesday Walter. Walter is a conservative in his heart, right? He has chosen to take a path of the political establishment where he will sell out on his own views and his own people just so he could promote his career, right? That is that. So let's go back to the graph. The vast majority of the caucus are fence sitters, and there's a spectrum of that. It goes very liberal members of that fence sitter caucus. You like Danny Nadeau, right? That's probably the left side. to the very conservative side of the caucus, like maybe a Tom DePel, right? But they're fence sitters. They will literally test the wind, and they could be moved either way. And then what you have is principled conservatives. Now, I don't know if we can label someone that yet in the Minnesota House. It's
Mortensen set a high bar.
Well, Mortensen, yes, if you go back in the past, definitely, right.
Right, and yeah, I mean, it's tough to be able to do what he did because it forces you to forge and forego relationships and whatnot. But there's multiple ways to govern. There's multiple ways for a legislator to legislate, and I think that graphic perfectly illustrates the different types of Republicans that are out there. And usually, I think they all could fall within one of those categories laid out. And you're right that even the fence sitters, that they're not all one and the same either. That they have a range from liberal to conservative,
right.
But that doesn't mean that they don't eventually fall in that same category of a fence sitter that can go either which way.
Well, and it's easy just to say they're all rhinos. Like, go pull up that graphic. If you take anything from the left spectrum of the fence sitters all the way over to the actual rhinos, it's easy to just call them all rhinos. But I think it's important to understand that there's different motivations. Like, the fence sitters can be pulled to the right. Got it? In many regards, that'd be like the role of Action for Liberty, to bring those people on the common sense side of it. The political establishment's a lost cause. They're in it for their own motivations. And the rhinos, to some degree, are a lost cause because they don't actually believe the things you and I believe in, right? Yeah. And I guess to that degree, neither does the political establishment, because they care more about positioning their future, whether that's inside the leadership or next higher office or the lobbyist gig they're going to get once they leave, right? They're like soulless in some regards, politically speaking. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to understand that even though they all might look like rhinos, there is like different motivations at play at the Capitol, and that's something that needs to be navigated. Now, Demuth clearly is the political establishment, right? Not very impressive either, but she is like literally a chameleon, doesn't seem to have any views, to a point where she seems to be getting along very well with Melissa Hortman. Let's go to the A2 Dawson 736 mark. It's actually just one big club up there.
Thank you. Yeah, they are. I mean, we don't see eye to eye on everything, but I think professionally, that is what people expect us to do, is have conversations and deal with issues in a friendly manner. I don't think screaming and fighting about things gets us any place. So, yeah.
Is that what you guys want her to do, is just get along, have conversations?
Right.
I mean, honestly, I know this is hard to say, but like, we're not going to win in politics if we treat the Democrats as if they are, noble, good faith actors in politics. These people have views that are so contrary to our founding. They literally do not care about the taxpayer. They literally don't care about businesses or individual rights. We saw that during COVID. Yep. And you act as if the people up there, yes, certainly the moderates and the people marginally attached to politics, think that way, but not the conservative delegates that you're facing. They don't want that. They actually think those people are destructive and bad for America and bad for Minnesota.
Right, and with that clip right there, we see what happens when Republicans get power. They cave immediately, and they start working with the Democrats. They start becoming the Democrats. Dawson, if we could pull up the A8, this is when the Democrats had power. You notice that when the Democrats have power, they're willing to fight. Lisa Demuth was saying there, oh, we're not going to scream and yell. That doesn't get anything done. Well, let's check out what had happened at the end of the last session, where the Republicans were not able to be recognized because Melissa Hortman was controlling the floor and acting as a tyrant and wouldn't allow motions.
Madam Speaker, parliamentary inquiry. We request a copy of this bill.
This is Lisa Demuth speaking, right?
430 pages, not available on the website, not available in this chamber. This is a horrible way to govern and do this for the state of Minnesota.
Okay, that's good. You guys get the point.
Yeah,
look at how hard she is willing to fight when it's the Democrats in control. She's willing to say, we got to scream and yell. Apparently, you can scream and yell when the Democrats have power, but when the Republicans have power, we've got to play nice. We got to work with them. We got to have these discussions. We got to have these backroom deals and then try to force your members to vote for it. That's what Lisa Demuth is. And these Republicans know better, but they're choosing this path anyway.
Yeah, and it's like we're talking about really important issues. Like literally, I think this goes without saying. You know what the costs are for your family with healthcare, and the Democrats right now are fighting on people who are not supposed to be here in our country, taking your hard-earned money and giving it to them. I mean, like, is there a bigger FU to an American than saying you have to fund the health care or fund anything, quite frankly, of someone that's illegally here? And listen, if you believe the opposite of what I just said, go ahead and give to a charity. Go take an illegal amongst yourself and provide whatever health care basic needs they have. You just shouldn't be doing that to me. You shouldn't be taking my money for something I'm totally against, which also happens to be against federal laws. And this is what we're fighting, and it should be way more than that. I mean, we've said this, we're like a broken record.
I'm seeing Tucker in the comments, he's saying 61% of Minnesotans do not want illegals to be given free health care. I'm not sure where you're getting that stat, but
I think,
that sounds accurate.
Yeah, I just saw a poll that came out about that, which 61% seems a
which
little
means
low.
All Republicans plus some Democrats. It means Republicans, most independents, and a few Democrats.
Right.
So what that means is it's extremely unpopular for the Democrats to be taking this up. And the Republicans have a winning issue, but instead of standing by that winning issue, they abandon it.
So what? I just don't, Jesse, I don't understand. So why wouldn't Demuth be like, yes, take that out of this massive hundreds of page, 1,000-page omnibus bill and make it a standalone vote? I don't understand why they're negotiating on that. Like, and then they need concessions, which is funding for Minnesota Department of Health. It's lunacy, in my opinion.
Right. No,
okay.
I don't get it either. I mean, this is the most pathetic, weak Republican leadership I've ever seen.
Okay, but the interesting thing is, behind the scenes, as we know, the Republican caucus is rising up to some degrees. The conservatives and newbies are rising up. They are not fine with what's happening. In fact, there was a press conference that was supposed to happen on Tuesday that didn't end up happening. It's really interesting to watch them talk about, like, well, we might still have a special session on Thursday. I think they've given up on that.
Yeah.
Hortman, I don't know if this is in one of the clips we have, is talking about a session on Saturday.
Yep.
We can't do it on Friday because that's a holiday, apparently. We had to look that one up. It's an Islamic holiday, so they're not looking to do a session on Friday, apparently. So they're talking about doing one on Saturday. If they wait one more week, right, delay just another week, Nicole Mitchell is in a trial.
Yeah.
The Senate is a tie. I mean, at this point, why would you guys even do a special session in the next week and a half? That's ridiculous. Wait till she's in. I mean, there you go, Jesse. If you really have a principled stance on Nicole Mitchell shouldn't be weighing in on the most important issues in the state of Minnesota, then perhaps you shouldn't be agreeing to a special session. Oh, it's probably important.
Didn't Walz even call for her to step aside? I know
yes,
for sure
Walz
Ken
did.
Martin did, but that's right. I remember, I thought that Walz had done that. So you're right. If Walz is truly a man of his word, and if he truly thinks that Nicole Mitchell shouldn't be voting on these important matters, he should allow her to have her court case. She should be taken out of the Senate, and they can move forward with a 50-50 House and a 50-50 Senate.
Yes. Okay, so I think it's very important for people to understand this little nugget, right? So in order to have they're talking about a one-day special session, right? We couldn't be bothered with more than that. In fact, that's the first clip with Hortman, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is good. Oh, man, this is so good. I love it when the Democrats just openly admit to how the game is played, and no one in the media even pushes back. It's like, oh, yeah, that's just how it goes. So here is Hortman talking about a one-day special session. This is the A3 Dustin. A one-day special session, and, all the kids in the room, all the pawns, they must have a reasonable debate according to us because leadership is taking care of things. Go ahead and play this clip, Dawson.
Additional layoff notices that have to go out.
How long will it take? How long will a special session last? It's hard to have control over that, isn't it?
The agreement will probably require it to be one day. That's the hope, that it would be one day. And, it would be nice if we weren't working through the night, if we could have reasonable length debates on these bills, and people could make public comments in press conferences before we even get to the floors, so that we're not on the floor for forever. I don't want to be in a situation where we're debating bills at 4 a.m, but a legislative day goes from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m.
But could you get 201 lawmakers to agree to that and not offer amendments and all of the other things they could do?
Well, we need 68 votes in the House and 34 in the Senate to pass bills. We need 90 to suspend the rules and speed things up in the House and 45 in the Senate.
Okay, let's stop right there. Okay, so she's telling us something that's very important. And for those people that aren't familiar with how special sessions work and the rules in the Minnesota House and Minnesota Senate, they can't just they can't literally have a legislative session with new bills introduced in one day. The only way that happens, just so you guys understand, and they're motivated to have a session in one day, and your actual real hardcore beliefs and your debates are not supposed to happen on the floor where they're supposed to really happen, right? You just do that on your own. When you come to the floor, you get in line. That's what she's saying. You get in line because leadership has already figured this stuff out. So technically, legislators are just pawns in this game.
Right.
Now, if you're a Republican...
And are they saying that they want to suspend the rules so that amendments can't be introduced on the floor?
Yes, I'm going to get to that in just a second.
That's crazy.
So if you're a Republican legislator, a newbie Republican legislator, I think Hortman even talks about how the leaders on the other side have to do this too. Don't think for a second Demuth doesn't believe this too. Okay, your job is really not important. I know you got an election certificate and constituents here, but really you just show up, keep quiet, don't say a thing. Just vote for the rules, the suspension of the rules, and vote whatever way you want the bills. Do not let your voice be heard. That's what they're trying to do, okay?
Yep.
You see how they're trying to take your voice away? I mean, if I could just speak to you Republican legislators that, like, literally are trying, like, if you go back to that graphic, Dawson, like, you're on that fence sitter side. I know a lot of the people on the
if
fence
you
sitter
vote
side.
to suspend the rules, you're voting against your own power.
Right. Yes, exactly. And it's like the fence sitters on the right side will never admit that they're a fence sitter. I mean, let's be honest, right? Did you vote for the rules package that started the whole session out? That basically let Tabke get seated? I mean, that might be a good example of your fence sitter, right? So, but you can still try to get over that principled side. I'd love to talk about the heroes. You could be a hero, right? Just stand up for yourself here and stand up for your constituents. That's really what you should be doing. Stand up for your constituents. You know, Demuth and Hortman are not your bosses. They don't represent your district. They represent a special interest, which is most likely the status quo, but really it's probably just their own interest, right? Because the status quo promotes them in their career, whether it's directly through, the legislative process and powers or another role in higher office, or in many regards, you're just lining up that lobbyist gig when you get out. It's amazing how many of these leaders get these lobbying gigs. So the important thing here, as you alluded to, Jesse, they have to suspend the rules, and it's a 2/3 vote. Okay, so let's go back. The Minnesota Senate is a one-person majority. That's why I saw Erin Murphy there. She was the one on the right. Erin Murphy is part of these negotiations. Lisa Demuth is. Melissa Hortman is. Girl power. The only person that's not is Mark Johnson, the Senate Minority Leader, who could technically be an even split depending on when the special session happens, because Nicole Mitchell, a Democrat's going to be on a trial for felony burglary, which that trial doesn't look too good for her. So, I mean, the one thing other than bonding bill that Mark Johnson can flex his muscles on is not delivering, or his caucus, or I guess you don't even need to talk about Mark Johnson. You just talk about the members of the Republican caucus. So if you're a Republican senator and you're in that caucus, listen up. You don't vote to suspend those rules. You don't play the game that they want you to play. Because guess what? I can't imagine a scenario that makes sense where you would go, yeah, let's have a special session in the next week before Nicole Mitchell is on trial and, quite frankly, takes away the majority of the Democrats have in the Senate. And then you literally, isn't this interesting how this whole thing works out? You literally are going to go into a special session, because remember, they have to have it. There's a budget that needs to be passed, right? There's a shutdown on July 1st. I forgot. We should have mentioned that at the beginning. It's the name of this show. July 1st is the shutdown, right? if they can't pass the budget. So literally they got to have a special session, and if they don't, if they wait for a week, it is a tied House and a tied Senate. Try navigating those waters.
Yeah.
I guess the Senate still has a president that's I mean, I guess Erin Murphy, can you call her a majority leader? Because she technically isn't a majority anymore.
Yeah.
So
right.
I guess you'd have two floor leaders is what they refer to them as. By the way,
and I'm not sure if you're about to allude to this, but Bobby Joe Champion, the Senate president, let's not forget that he was put into power. He was put into that spot with the help of two Republicans, Jim Abler and
that was actually 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
they all aligned. That's an interesting point. It just wasn't this current legislative session.
Right. But yeah, I mean, even if we were in a scenario where it was going to be a 50-50 Senate, of course we know the Republicans are going to cave on that one too. And, I was just looking at the bills that are going to be passed during this special session. They got 10 bills that are budget bills or policy bills that they're going to be passing: higher education, human services, HHS, transportation, energy, utilities, environment, climate, education policy, jobs, labor, environment and natural resources, commerce, and education spending. And when we also add the bonding bill that they want to pass on top of that, and then potentially this illegal immigrant standalone bill, that means that they want to pass 12 bills within a single day. That tells you how corrupt this thing is. If they're trying to say that it's going to be able to pass both bodies, all 12 bills on the same day, and as Melissa Hortman was saying there, that we don't want a whole lot of debate, that she just wants to have it rushed through and have the votes delivered. It just shows the fix is already in.
Yeah, well, the fix is in as long as, if you're listening here, you're a Republican senator or Republican House member.
Right,
the fix is in if you vote to suspend the rules.
And I think the Senate has a stronger possibility to reject that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Just because I think that the Senate Republicans are more conservative as a whole than the House Republicans. And since they're in the minority, they usually have more willingness to flex their power. Considering that Karin Housley and these other rhinos are going to be all in favor of a bonding bill, that might not exactly be something that the Senate Republicans will stop. But the suspension of the rules is a very big one because, like you're saying, if legislators don't have the ability to insert amendments on the floor, they really don't have any power.
Right. Before we move on, I forgot to mention our great sponsors today, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell home, give my good friend Warren a call at 612-419-7453. Seriously, if you are selling your home, downsizing, upgrading, whatever it is, Warren is a hell of a real estate agent. Sold my home when I was that 7-8 years ago within like 3-4 days. Damn good real estate agent. And then helped us buy a home too. Both sides of it. Love it. Buying agent and selling agent. Also, if you're buying a home, give the good guys at John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. You can go to johngaltmortgage.com or check them on Facebook or X, where they got a top-notch meme game. Not only do they finance homes, they have the similar views to you and me. I think they like these two books too, by the way, the founders. And also brought to you by Alpine Chemistry in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Okay, so let's go to the A4, Dawson. Yeah, this is just kind of an extension of what she's saying. She's admitting that it's not in these words, but admitting that the legislators are just pawns in their games, which is kind of funny if you're a Democrat legislator and watching that. I mean, do you truly, really believe in what your cause is? Like, you really need illegals to get health care with our money? Like, look at these guys. They just think you're a pawn. Go ahead and play this, Dawson.
You don't yet have the votes to pass these agreements. Locked down in your accounts.
What I will say is that I signed an agreement that committed my caucus to deliver votes to pass bills, and we will deliver the votes to pass those bills, and I expect that the other leaders will do the same. But we're not at the point where we have caucused every single bill. So
Okay. I just love it. So first of all, in case you don't understand, in Minnesota, you're supposed to have open meetings. There's something called an open meetings law. So if you're a city council, you do business in the open. Not when you're in the legislature. They're they're free from that law. This is all behind closed doors with the transparency. It's just these stupid media like scrums like that they're having. Scrums. I mean, So that's it. Like, that is the transparency of this process. So
Right.
she signed an agreement that she will deliver the votes.
Yep.
So you guys, you just got to get in line, you know?
And Lisa Demuth is doing the exact same
I
thing.
know.
You know, she's the one who they signed on to the same agreement. And you know, from what I hear at the Capitol, it doesn't sound like Demuth got the sign off from the caucus, from the GOP House caucus. She did not get their approval on this thing, so she's speaking on their behalf. And you know, these Republicans should be holding her accountable for signing on to a massive budget agreement that, as we've talked about, kills the surplus and you know, maintains the bloated government. And inserts all kinds of woke leftist agenda items. So this has just been a total failure from all perspectives.
Yeah, and like from our perspective, honestly, if government's the problem, if the Democrat trifecta grew government by $19 billion at 36%, you should be giving that back. I was bringing this up in the pre-show today. It's like our federal government spends $7 trillion. They have a $2 trillion budget deficit. If they grew the federal budget like the Democrats grew it in the last 2 years, we'd be nearing a $10 trillion budget.
Yeah.
Which would be like a $5 trillion budget deficit. That's how much impact the Democrats made. That's how much they grew. Like, why on earth aren't we shrinking the government in Minnesota by a third? Right. That just gets rid of what the Democrats just did.
This is the second largest budget in Minnesota history. So,
correct.
You know, it just shows that these rhinos, they're not that much better than these Democrats, because it's the second largest budget in Minnesota history. By any other standard, that would be a massive failure. So, you know, it's they're not that different, and they've totally, you know, lost all the leverage and negotiating power. And we see the Democrats, they draw a line in the sand, they stick to it.
Right.
And the Republicans need to learn to do the same on behalf of conservative items.
Yeah, and they can still fight, but honestly, a government shutdown's not the end of the world. Now, I wish in a government shutdown, the government doesn't essentially still back pay all the funding that you know, like it's on a temporary shutdown, right? Like it's until they pass the bill, then they're just going to back pay everybody, right? I mean, like literally, if government shuts down, it should be painful for the government and healthy for us. I remember Mort had a bill. It's like, if there's a government shutdown, tax collections cease. Just think about how much of a scam government is here. They shut down, they don't provide any services, but you still have to provide them the revenue. Like, where in the private sector does that happen? Yeah. You would be lawsuit after lawsuit if you have to pay for something and you don't get something in response the service in return. And yet the government operates that way all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we should actually, and honestly, I know it's tough to say this because the government's so damn big, and that's the problem. But we should be able to navigate this world if the government shuts down. The state government shuts down, we should be able to navigate this world. I remember the Republicans back in the day, I think it was like 2017, they were fearing a government shutdown, and they want to blame it on the Democrats. So they did this press conference, and they held up little signs of what would shut down if there was a government shutdown. And literally one moron had the little placard that said lakes. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, oh, the lakes shut down, huh?
Yeah.
You can't go out on the lake. Like, oh, fishing is done, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't buy a fishing license, then go fish. Like, so what? Like, honest to God, if government's this inept, just go on, live your life as a free American, right? Because government's usually getting in the way anyhow. I just wish we had the revenue side approach too. Like, the government doesn't collect any more money. And then I could make the argument, boy, let's open this up and really slowly open it up, like maybe courts, law enforcement. What else do we need? Come on, help me out, Jesse. Do we need anything else?
Yeah, I don't know.
Courts,
bring it down to the essential services.
What else are we missing here? That might be it. Yeah. Okay. I guess they need to build some roads. Yeah. Maybe.
Construction season.
Yeah.
Time to do it.
Yeah, they'll just leave the cones in place. Well, actually, I think all current construction stuff, I think those things would still get paid. Okay, so this was a question posed to the DFL leaders on funding for illegal immigrants, and here we go. This is the response by Melissa Hortman and Aaron Murphy.
happening about undocumented health care cuts traveling in a standalone bill or as part of the Human Services bill?
To my caucus, and I think that's what's going to happen.
What is that part of it? Because Speaker Damon said that she doesn't feel that that's a path forward.
I think we'll just leave it there. But I think what
We'll just leave it there.
Leader Murphy just said.
We can't. We'll just leave it there. You guys can't be bothered. More transparency here.
Yeah.
This is so fun. The media doesn't push back on anything, do they?
Right. And we have to remind people because of that clip that they did their press conference right there before Demuth did.
Demuth changed her tone.
Right. So Demuth was the one who flip-flopped following that press conference.
But she should flip-flop on this. She should want this as a standalone bill. Like, I really am beginning to think Republicans are actually trying, some Republicans, I should say, don't want to take a vote on funding illegals' health care. Yeah. They should all willingly vote against that. Mm-hmm. And then really care about the Democrats, the vulnerable Democrats taking that vote. Mm-hmm. It looks like that is a bipartisan supported bill. Yeah. Oh, boy. I'll tell you how much I want to see that vote. Mm-hmm. I really want to see, because that's what it seems like Demuth is doing, is providing cover for some of the rhinos in her caucus.
Right, and it's going to be insane to see which ones do it. I mean, there's plenty of these rhinos in there. I mean, Ron Kreischer was trying to give $5 million to the lawyers of illegal immigrants to try to keep them in our state a couple of years ago. So, I guess if he has a moment of honesty, he might end up voting for the legislation. But you're right, it's going to be political suicide for any Republican who wants to vote for free health care for illegal aliens.
That's why they're trying to add a little nugget into that bill, which is like, in fact, Demuth should not be arguing for this, but she wants to add a little nugget in there that's like, then the Kreisches of the world go back and say, yes, but I ended this program. Maybe he wouldn't want to end a DEI program, but let's just say they added a DEI program. Something that they can say, no, I was voting for it because of
pregnancy
this, right?
centers or something.
Yeah, there you go. That's what they're going to do.
One they love,
that's exactly what they're going to do with pregnancy centers, because Democrats are like, okay, we'll fund that.
Yeah.
You're still fully funding Planned Parenthood, so what do we care?
Yep.
Like, that's what they're going to do, and then they're going to go, look, I got this historic fund. You voted to give illegals our taxpayer money for health care.
You know what they're going to do? Pregnancy centers for illegals. That's what the Republicans are going to ultimately come to an agreement on, because we got to have a place for these anchor babies to be born. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's ultimately the Republican concession.
In that degree, illegal or not, I want that human life to exist, right? I don't think we should kill human lives, right? Innocent human lives. So in that regard, as tricky of an issue, I guess some of these things are, please have your baby.
But giving them life doesn't mean giving them citizenship.
Right. Oh, definitely not. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. I'm just saying that, my God, like, don't kill innocent people. It is real. So anyhow, let's go to, oh, sorry. Sorry, I just got a cough there. Excuse me. Should we go to the federal budget? Should we do this?
If we could run through the article I got here.
Oh, yeah, let's go to the article.
A6. This is not up on the Action for Liberty website quite yet, so you guys get the first view on this, but so obviously we all see it. Rhino Speaker Lisa Demuth caving on illegal alien healthcare using woke language.
Did you create that graphic?
I did.
Look at him, Dawson.
I'm getting better.
He's getting so much better. What a visual that is. Actually, what's funny is that visual is, to some degree, well, isn't that 100% true? Yeah. That's what they did. They came over, in some regards, a fence, although a lot of times under Biden, they didn't even have to go over a fence.
Right, they just walked through.
They come in, and now they get your money for health care.
Yep.
Good graphic.
Despite holding the speakership in a shared majority in the State House of Representatives, House Republicans have been an abysmal failure by caving to radical Democrats instead of fighting for conservative principles. Among other rhinos, Speaker Lisa Demuth deserves particular blame. A major point of contention during the end of the legislative session was the issue of illegal alien adults receiving taxpayer-funded health care. While our own citizens are struggling to pay their bills and make ends meet in Minnesota, Democrats chose to prioritize giving free health care to illegal aliens. Initially, it seemed Republicans were drawing a hard line and would not allow it to pass. However, it appears things have changed. The Walz, Demuth, Hortman, and Murphy budget deal had a series of set agreements. Among them was stripping the funding for free health care for illegal alien adults. Democrats have since continued to push to add this spending to the deal, whether it be in the Health Omnibus Bill, HF 2435, or in a standalone bill. In a 6/4/25 press conference, Speaker Lisa Demuth appeared to pivot on the question, the video that we had previously shown, and suggested that if a standalone bill was taken up on this issue, that the GOP could allow it with a, quote, contingency. What exactly would Demuth and the GOP caucus want in return? Demuth is not asking for a cut in government. In fact, her contingency would be giving more money to the MDH. We presume Demuth is referring to the Minnesota Department of Health when she says MDH in the press conference.
Let's stop there. So what I think, and let's cut off this. People go to extraforliberty.com to read this, and he's talking about some of the things. What I think is not probably a proposal for more funding. I think she's probably just saying shift into the bill so that it cozies it up for some of the rhinos in the caucus. Isn't that your read on it?
You know, potentially. The way that she had said it.
The way she said it, I agree with you.
The way she said it makes it sound as if she's saying more money. So I'm just taking her for what she's saying in that press conference.
Right. Okay, so is this public or published on AFL?
Not yet.
Okay, this will be published on actionforliberty.com. You can go check it out. I don't want to rehash what we just talked about, but also, and you do link, you link into the press conference. Okay, perfect. So if you guys want to watch
just a couple quick points that I just wanted to make is that we're talking about illegal aliens. Are these our friends and neighbors, or are these uninvited invaders? Because Lisa Demuth is busy calling them undocumented immigrants, undocumented people, and undocumented Minnesotans, as if these aren't people who illegally cross the border. And instead of we should be seeing the party of Trump. Instead, we're seeing the party of Joe Biden through Lisa Demuth. And, in my opinion, she has earned her nicknames of Lisa Kamala Demuth or Demuth Equity and Inclusion because she stands for absolutely nothing and is a total fake conservative. We have to remember that as the speaker, she is the one that gets to decide which bills are calendared. So that means that when we see the budget increase to the LGBTQIA 2S Plus Council, or we see the budget increase to Ankifa Keith Ellison's budget, or we see the taxpayer-funded abortions, or we see the DEI in schools, the only person who put those bills on the calendar was Lisa Demuth.
As you're going through all these things, Jesse, it hits me that you're not supposed to exist. Like, you're not supposed to be able to know this stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, because you got to think there's like a lot of pretend conservative groups in this state that just literally give these guys a pass. They shut up, or even worse, you're MCCL, and you like provide cover and you just lie to people saying, no, that doesn't fund abortion.
No.
You aren't supposed to know this stuff, Jesse.
Right.
You aren't supposed to have a platform to say this stuff, whether it's Action for Liberty or through Truth Hurts. You aren't supposed to go tell, and now people know what the hell's being voted on. You think they assumed no one was going to realize there was an LGBTQIA2S plus council that was funded by Republicans.
Right. They'd be getting away with all of this if it wasn't for Action for Liberty and for it truly is Action for Liberty is the only group that's really willing to stand up to all of it. And we have to remember Republicans won nationally the last election by such a wide margin on the topic of immigration.
Right.
That was the leading issue because we saw the open border under Biden. And so for Republicans to abandon that issue, for Lisa Demuth to be siding with the Democrats, and for her to be adopting these ultra-woke leftist terms, and to say that these are undocumented Minnesotans, it shows that she's a sellout. She is a failure of a speaker.
Okay, that's a great mark for our next segment on the big, beautiful bill, because my friend Carl, who we had on the show, I thought it was a lovely discussion. Carl moved to New Zealand. He literally suffers from TDS, no doubt about that, which I can understand to some degree why people have issues with Trump. I got it. Now he's seen my post very much against Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill from what I would consider a principled stance. And he goes, boy, you guys really seem like morons, or some language on voting for Trump. And I go, no, I don't. I don't regret my vote for Trump. You know what would make me regret my vote for Trump?
Kamala's bill would have been even bigger and less beautiful.
This is why I don't. So first of all, I knew Trump was bad on this issue. I did. I knew it. I'm not shocked by it. I even said on the show, despite this being my biggest issue, and Kamal's no better on the issue, I find reasons to vote for Trump because, boy, I really trusted him a lot more on the border. It's insane to think that under Biden, and it would have definitely been continued under Kamala, that just millions of people are flooding across the border and we're doing nothing about it. Relatively nothing about it. Trump's doing a lot about it. So there you go. Number one. Number two, Trump is failing tremendously on Ukraine. Now, I think the easy route is to say, Trump lied about, I'll get the deal done in one day. yeah, when he said it, that probably had a potentiality. Even if it wasn't like one day, it probably could happen quickly. You have to remember, Biden really effed that up. Since I think that comment was
the
like
problem is
a year before Trump even took office.
Yeah, the problem is that the only way to get the war ended is with an agreement, because it's not just as simple as saying the U.S. withdraws support from Ukraine. Of course, I'm all on board with saying that we shouldn't be spending our tax dollars there. But if we actually, the war is going to continue whether we're there or not. Russia will continue regardless. So what we have to have is an agreement, and what that means is he has to have Putin and Zelensky on the same page, which it's tough for anyone to do, but Trump is at least trying.
Well,
which,
that's where I was going.
And the Democrats never would have.
Yes, that's my point. Is so yes, Trump's failing. Although I do think it got worse, and it's almost like Biden tried doing this. And I think Lindsey Graham is not innocent here, right? It's not lost. I mean, Lindsey Graham goes over to Ukraine like the day before they start this big bombing campaign on Russian airplanes.
Yeah, did you hear about his hotel bill? I
gotta look. I haven't looked into that yet.
Me neither. I got to look into it before.
But I mean, Trump's at least trying, and that's a crazy thing. The Democrats didn't want to try. They want to continue to prolong this war, and so it seems like so does Lindsey Graham and what's his nuts that went over there with him, Blumenthal. Mm-hmm. So, bipartisan.
Yeah.
So, that was another reason to vote for Trump. The other one, like literally, we are taking this for granted. Because now we see it a little bit. YouTube isn't censoring us as much. You guys understand that? Like, YouTube hasn't taken down a video of ours since Trump's been in office. Okay? So we forget the assault on First Amendment rights and what that literally will look like with Kamala and Walz.
Yeah.
And Trump is at least stopping that. Okay? So those were like
they
my big
Trump himself.
Those were my big reasons for voting for Trump. So then on the periphery is Trump might actually drain the swamp, right? Now, I'm starting to think, no, he's not. And I got big issues with the Epstein list and stuff like that. We could talk about that a different day. I also thought two things on the budget. First of all, Trump has a better chance of expanding our economy. I still believe that, way over Kamala. And remember, an expanded economy brings in more revenue, so even if he doesn't get expenditures under control, it's still going to lessen the impact of the deficit. Okay? Yeah. So that's a good thing. And I'd make the argument that, yes, national income can rise, and so the deficit or the expenditures side isn't as big of a deal. I didn't see that happen in Kamala. The other case is there would have been if we were at this stage right now, we would not have been able to have a conversation so much on the debt. All the Republicans would be complaining about the debt, and most of them would be doing it inauthentically. Mm-hmm. And in the end of the day, like, the Democrats would have just ramped up the status quo. And we're talking about $2 trillion deficits. At this point, at least, even if I know there's a civil war happening on the Republican side, oh, MAGA, they're eating themselves up. Like, hey, at least we're actually having a conversation on the damn most important bill.
We're thinking for ourselves.
We are thinking for ourselves. Exactly. This is Stephen Miller, deputy chief of staff for Donald Trump.
I wouldn't call him a propagandist.
He's kind of sounding like it. He does make some good points, by the way. He says
he's a spokesman, but yeah.
Well, here's why I call him a propagandist here. Look at this. This is literally what he writes. Oh, because this got heated up because Elon's now weighing in. There are two ways to raise the debt ceiling, with Chuck Schumer at 60 votes, which means higher taxes, higher spending, liberal wish lists, or two, in reconciliation at 50 votes, which means permanent tax cuts, permanent welfare reform, permanent border security. Easy choice. Okay, what's going on here?
I have no idea.
A false dichotomy. As if, we have to raise the debt ceiling. Like, I don't even buy your premise, Stephen Miller. The principled stance against the big, beautiful bill is that it increases the debt. That's the principled stance. I don't think Rand Paul could be clear about it. I am not voting for a bill that increases the federal debt limit by $4 trillion. But it just, according to Stephen Miller's world, there's only two ways to raise the debt ceiling. Although, really, I'll take option 3. Don't raise the debt ceiling. Stop right now. Is that not the biggest problem for America, is the fact that we have growing interest rates, $1 trillion already in current net interest payments, and $37 trillion in the books, and Why do we have to raise the debt ceiling? We don't have to raise the debt ceiling. Go, Dawson, let's pull up. I sent you the PDF. You got that right? Yep. This is the big, beautiful bill, page 1116. And this is right there. You can see it. The increase the debt limit under the big, beautiful bill increases it by $4 trillion. And as Rand Paul, I think, correctly states, that, well, first of all, why would you ask for increasing the debt ceiling if you're not going to do it? And, of course, Congress, as soon as you give them an increase in the debt ceiling, they're going to do it. And I'm opposed to that. And I think you are opposed to it. This is why the big, beautiful bill is the worst bill, because it increases the debt ceiling. You know what? Honestly, if you take that out, maybe it's not that bad of a bill, right? I'm all for tax cuts. I'm all for reducing revenue to the government. I'm just against the debt. We got to stop it. Okay. CBO has got a new projection of deficits. I haven't had enough chance to read through it. It does add to the debt.
Okay,
right?
but here's what Stephen Miller says. He says, we're in a struggle for the survival of civilization itself, which is probably an exaggeration.
A little bit, yeah.
You know, I don't think the big, beautiful bill determines
propagandist.
Whether or not
okay, go on.
But it's just an exaggeration. But he says, and we have libertarians threatening to derail the entire agenda over bogus CBO pie charts. We will be debating these matters over the ruins of the West if we do not control migration. And, you know, I think also on the point, as you were saying, with the false dichotomy, of course, you know, another alternative is you have another version of the big, beautiful bill that cuts more and potentially doesn't raise the deficit. But it's also a fair point to say that a deficit because of tax cuts is is way more preferable than a deficit increase because of new spending. And, you know, if reconciliation really can be a solve-all to some of these problems, then I think Stephen Miller's right when he says that we should, you know, why aren't the libertarians focusing on that? Because he's saying libertarians by name. He's saying that the reconciliation package should be where the focus should be. And, you know, I guess I don't know enough about the process, but if reconciliation can cut a lot of this funding and, you know, serve some of the policy
mandatory
too,
spending, yep.
Then what is the issue? If the reconciliation can solve it, what's the issue?
Well, they don't actually cut spending. They cut the growth to spending. And so, yes, CBO's projection of it adding to the deficit. Okay, so when I say adding to the deficit, I'm saying that they project 10 years of deficits. Do we still have the chart handy, Dawson? Would that be hard to find?
Is that one that you emailed me?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. You know what? Just go to truthhurtsnews.com. I've got it there.
Oh, well, there you go.
If you go to truthhurtsnews.com, it's 2 articles back, I believe, because they never actually cut spending. Okay? And so, yes, you might cut the amount of the deficit, but then obviously CBO scores it in a certain way because they assume revenues goes down. You go clear, and that's still yet to be determined. There you go. So you see, government spending continues to go up, right? They're not actually shrinking government spending. What's the chart below that? Is that the deficits? And there you go. Those are the deficits. The impact. The big, beautiful bill continues, actually increases the deficits from what's projected, but that is. And I think in here I even credit, you know, this is the CBO projection. I don't think Stephen Miller is completely wrong on it. There is an argument
and CBO stands for Congressional Budget Office.
Correct, yes. You could make the argument that reducing taxes expands the economy and then brings in more revenue. And in fact, I'm a big believer that that's the case. However, with that being said, Dawson, pull up the B6. Because Trump doesn't have any credibility in this issue. Scroll down, and we can go down to the last 10 years of budget deficits. Keep going down.
I have not looked at this website yet. So
no, it's fine, yeah. It's right there. U.S. deficits by year. And you can find 2017, so fiscal year 2017, which would have been the first crack. In fact, that was a Republican-controlled Congress and President Trump, so that's $670 billion. Next year is 2018.
It was Paul Ryan as speaker.
Correct,
you know, he's dealing with a corrupt political class.
He's still dealing with them. Still dealing with them, and they were wrong then, and they're wrong now. So 2018, they increased the deficit to $780 trillion, and the next year is almost $1 trillion. And then, as we all know, fiscal year 2020, they just gave up and just said, let's just create money out of thin air, and they ballooned up the deficit to $3 trillion. And then, of course, 2021 is partly Trump, and then it gets taken over by Biden, and then Biden starts increasing it, right?
That's a
the
very
problem.
interesting side note on the side there where it says the last surplus for the federal government was in 2001.
Correct. Yep, right there. You can see it.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
right. Yeah, it's insane to think they even had a budget surplus at one point.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with Donald Trump. It's called the B5. I agree with Donald Trump in 2013. This is a very interesting tweet that was discovered today where Donald Trump tweets out, I cannot believe the Republicans are extending the debt ceiling. I am a Republican, and I am embarrassed.
You say this was discovered today?
I think it was rediscovered today, I should say. Yes.
Do you know where it is right now?
What do you mean? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw Elon even tweeted it out, too. That's right.
Oh, he removed the pin, but yeah, he had tweeted it out. What is this now? A new political party in America that actually
the war is
represents...
heating up. Listen, Elon Musk is a smart guy, assuming he's got the right objective. Some people are questioning that he's really opposed to it for selfish reasons because it gets rid of the EV subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and honestly, Elon can easily deconflict himself that one and say, listen, I will be neutral on the EV subsidies. I just don't want to see the debt, right? And that's what he's saying.
It's impossible because he probably already has lobbyists and whatnot.
If the lobbyists are continuing to push for that, then yes, call him out for that. It doesn't mean that he's wrong on the debt part. He's been very consistent on that part. You know, I could only hope that Elon, and I don't want to go down the road because none of us know what makes Elon tick.
And
although Trump believes that he does.
But you know, and we should remember Trump's post there was when Obama was in office. So he's saying don't expand it under Obama because when you know, and just because we have to remember, just because Trump's given all this money from Congress doesn't mean he has to spend it all. And of course, Obama was not a good steward of our money. So situations are a little different.
No, it's not. A deficit under Obama is still overspending, just like under Trump. That's a horrible argument. How is it better if he's spending to oblivion? Like I don't even because the priorities are
much better. I'm just saying
it's still like the problem is we're adding to the debt and interest rates are going up and the whole jigs. I mean, you guys understand that so U.S. government revenues are $4 trillion. The interest payment on the debt is $1 trillion. So a quarter of the money that we bring in goes to paying the debt. So just imagine, let's just imagine you made $50,000 a year. $12,500 of that goes to paying the debt, like your credit card bills. How is that sustainable at all? Tucker says, I've seen that. Well, he did, Jake. He said to get rid of EV mandates. Tucker said. So you're saying Elon said that? Oh, good. You know, it's so interesting to see Elon and me like so aligned here. I wonder, like, would we get along? Would Elon and I get along? I have no idea. I'll probably never meet the guy. I'm such a different level of the game than Elon, but it is interesting to see.
Kind of an awkward guy.
He's a very awkward guy.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very smart guy. Has a sense of humor. I mean, I was shocked how well he did on SNL. So, okay, so the other thing is, let's go back to your Stephen Miller because that's an interesting point. And Stephen Miller seems to be the lead voice on the opposite side, so on the Trump side. Although Trump, actually, let's go to
well, he's making the most sense out of anyone that's arguing for it. So I
he's
think
not completely wrong.
He should be the point of reference. He's probably the smartest person there.
He's not completely wrong, right, on everything, but he's wrong on some things. B3, this is Donald Trump actually talking about Elon Musk. Let's go ahead and play this clip. And then Elon responds to this.
But if they picked him, I would have won Pennsylvania. I won it by a lot. But I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem, and he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate because that's billions and billions of dollars. And it really is unfair. We want to have cars of all types. Electric, we want to have electric, but we want to have a gasoline, combustion. We want to have different. We want to have hybrids. We want to have we want to be able to sell everything. And when that was cut, and Congress wanted to cut it, it became a little bit different. And I can understand that. But he knew every aspect of this bill. He knew it better than almost anybody. And he never had a problem until right after he left. And if you saw the
shots fired. Shots fired. Let's go. Let's see. What does Elon say here? False. This bill is never shown to me even once and was passed in the dead of the night, which is true, guys. Remember, we broke the story. Was that 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? Fast that almost no one in Congress could even read it. And here's some proof in it. Are you guys aware?
Okay, that's not what Trump said. Trump said he understood the inner workings of the bill. He's not saying he read the bill. Trump was saying that Elon understood the inner workings, and Trump is 100% right that Elon, he started talking all this stuff after he left. He was saying it a little bit while he was still in there with Trump, but he has changed his perspective. He has gone harder on this. It would have been nice if he had been consistent throughout his time in the Trump administration. If he would have been pushing this hard then, he had more influence then too. So it is true that he's adapted to this new attack.
Okay, hold on. That's an interesting point. In fact, go to the B9, Dawson, because that's Eli Crane's attack. And this actually I lost some respect for Eli Crane on this one, who I thought is one of the best freshman congressmen. Let's go ahead and watch this. Sorry, he's in his second term, not freshman.
My issue is why wasn't he talking about this before the bill, right? Because those of us that were actually trying to make cuts, we could have used his support, and that actually might have helped us out quite a bit. And that's what frustrates me. Hey, if you're going to be in this fight when we need you, because we needed him. My issue.
Okay, and see, my problem was, Eli, then why don't you just lead from the front? Why do you need Elon Musk doing it? Right. I mean, clearly Thomas Massie made what would be considered a principled stance on it.
Right.
Rand Paul and Ron Johnson are in the Senate. Why didn't you do it? You need Elon Musk. But his point is similar to yours, is why didn't Elon say this a couple weeks ago?
Right.
I guess that is a fair point.
And also, but you're right that the argument doesn't necessarily work when it's Eli Crane making that point, because he voted for the bill.
Correct, yeah.
So if you're trying to say that you're trying to make cuts and whatnot, the way to do that would be to have the bill fail so that you can continue to negotiate.
Isn't it reasonable, though, to believe that Elon Musk, because if you think about it, because we've been talking about this since the get-go, right? So it was passed in the middle of the night, okay? There's no denying that. Elon even started making some statements. Remember, Elon is not like your typical partial government employee, whatever the hell it was, special employee. The guy's still the CEO of Tesla. He was, I think, he was literally on a Bloomberg News conference call in front of a big audience. We played that on the show, and we were kind of getting the sense something wasn't right at that point. So, I mean, Elon kind of was signaling that things weren't going well, right? And then the next week, more was coming out until we get. So I kind of, if you look back in the last 3 weeks, it does seem like Elon's taking a progression, and credit to Elon here. It's like, hey, maybe I don't just come out so hardcore against this. Maybe I try working behind the scenes to help him out. And then maybe he's realized that, hey, it's not working. I need to be public, and we need to get this big movement against it. I don't know, man. I have no inside information on this. All I can do is weigh into what he's saying. But
right, because he was more timid before, and Tucker's making the point in the comments. He's saying because Eli Crane doesn't own one of the world's largest social media companies, and I guess what you're saying there is that Elon has more influence than Eli Crane does, and that Elon is able to push the message out further.
Yes,
and
but if Eli voted for it,
yeah.
So I just don't understand how Eli's good on this one. Now here's the other thing: it's not just that. Like, you want to fault Trump wants to fault Elon for not knowing the intricacies of this bill. The congressman that voted for it didn't know it. Look at this. Let's go to okay, first of all, the B7, Dawson. This is page 292 of the bill. Do you guys know this is in it? This is really fascinating. This isn't some clean bill, Stephen Miller. Like, he always has this dichotomy. Do you want to have the border, or do you want to wait for the it's like, no, this thing has a bunch of garbage in it. One of them is this crazy provision that I have no idea why it's even in there. That's not the provision. It's 292 on the top. Scroll down. Sorry. No, go back up. Up a little bit right there. They keep going a little bit. It's line 5. Except as provided in paragraph 2, no state or political subdivision thereof may enforce any law or regulation regulating artificial intelligence models, artificial intelligence systems, or automated decision systems during the 10-year period beginning on the date of the enactment of this act. What the hell is that doing in this bill? Now, go to the B8. Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, this reminds me of didn't Mary Franson say something like this in legislature?
Well, yeah, it was about the AI meme bill.
Yes.
Yeah, that saying, I voted for it because of the. Well, I guess she. That bill.
suing the government.
That bill was pretty short, but I don't think. I think she was fully aware of what was in that. So
yeah, she's suing the government for a bill she voted for.
I mean, this is obviously a massive omnibus bill, and so yeah, I memean, it doesn't surprise me that Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't reading every single line.
Right. So these are congressmen. Full transparent. I did not know about this section on page 278 to 279 of the OBB that strips states of the rights to make laws or regulate AI for 10 years. I'm adamantly opposed to this, and it is a violation of states' rights, and I would have voted no if I had known this was in there. I mean, like, they don't even read the bills.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah,
But
okay,
at
after
least
the
she's
fact.
willing to, it's like one of those things, at least she's willing to admit it, saying that she made a wrong move. But yeah, I mean, it definitely makes us question her leadership ability. If you're going to screw things up the first time, can you be trusted? But I mean, every single one of them, except for Thomas Massie and Davidson, voted for that thing. So she's not in a unique camp, but
it's just such a, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want
Right.
to vote for the Trump bill, but I want my the people voting for me to know that I oppose stuff in this bill. It's weird.
And it makes me wonder if that provision would that delegitimize the AI meme bill that is the law that's in Minnesota here.
Yes, it seems to would do that, which is interesting. Go to the C1, Dawson.
So there's one benefit out of this. Then.
I guess C1. This is this legislator. This is Congressman Scott Perry. So Elon Musk is right to call out House leadership. I wish I had a nickel for every time the Freedom Caucus sounded an alarm and nobody listened, only to find out the hard way we were right all along. We expect massive improvements from the Senate. So he's basically quote tweeting Elon Musk, who's against this outrageous pork bill. And then Community Notes goes, Representative Scott Perry voted yes for the bill.
Yeah. And,
but this is
it's installing this false faith in the Senate Republicans, as if the Senate Republicans are the real deal either. I mean, people like to say Rand Paul. I think he's a phony too. I mean, anyone that can be from the same state, the co-senator alongside Mitch McConnell, that tells me you're controlled opposition. So, it'll be interesting. I hope to see the Senate make some serious cuts, but it is funny for him to not give the context that he had voted for the bill himself.
All right, so anyhow, the to kind of bring this back full circle. Sorry, I'm trying to promote this on Twitter. I just realized, sometimes Twitter doesn't put this up. I don't know if you know that. Like sometimes the video is not just posted on our.
It doesn't notify me of anything on my end.
No, it's actually live. It just for some reason it doesn't just show up.
Okay.
On our what's the word I'm looking for?
Feed,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So our profile. To bring this kind of full circle, as I was trying to say, that I think what's fascinating about this whole dilemma is that we're having the right conversation, and even if the MAGA world Republicans are fighting, and it might get a little bloody because you got Elon and Donald Trump involved, so it's going to get ugly. Let's just be honest, it's going to get ugly.
They've had nasty tweets.
But good. Let's start solving the problem. I mean, honest to God, if you just understand what's happening here, if Elon is like, hey, we should be shrinking the debt, I think that's a starting position, certainly not adding to it. And Donald Trump is like, we should continue deficit spending, just not maybe as much. I mean, that's kind of a gray area. They say it's shrinking the deficit, really not, but whatever. Let's say it's just continuing it. Isn't the compromise eventually going to be somewhere in here? Is that not a great thing? We're like literally solving the problem. And you do have to give Trump credit. I do think he'll expand the economy. I think, and I do really support the tax cuts, which will probably broaden the base and bring in more revenue. I mean, this is a great conversation. And I just want to say, because that's where this is going, right? It's going to be somewhere where we're getting a better deal. We should all be praising that. Democrats get to sit on the sidelines as Republicans sort this out. We're going to get a better deal. Thank you, Elon Musk, helping us get a better deal, because you gave a lot more power than Thomas Massie could ever get. And in that regard, with an expanded economy, I don't know, maybe this thing does turn around. Yeah. And, oh, my God, I didn't vote for Trump because I knew he's bad on deficits. But if Trump maybe ends up being really good on it, right?
Yeah.
Even though his starting position's bad, I'm going to weigh in on where he is. I just hope Elon and libertarians get credit down the road for trying to help solve this. Does that make sense?
Right. And, and also, with the tariffs, we'll have to see how that ends up coming into play, too, if we take the, perspective of Trump and Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary. We could end up seeing massive reductions to the deficit and debt if those tariffs are as successful as they claim to be. But, and as much as I do like the direction that Elon is taking the party, that he's moving things in the smaller government direction, I do have to wonder how legitimate it is. I do have to wonder how much of his own personal interests are in mind.
Right.
He's this Mars-loving technocrat, transhumanist, and so he's not exactly on the same page as constitutional conservatives. He's kind of his own thing. So we have to have some skepticism with him, but it seems as if he is pursuing the right actions here.
Oh, well, we'll end it on that right there. Let's end it there. Good. Thank you. Good conversation, Mega Jesse. Yep. I've been dying to have you back in here to talk to you about this because I was like, man, I wonder where you are on this whole issue. Honestly, it's a healthy discussion. I'm glad. And it's going to there's going to be fireworks.
Looks like we got William in the comments. He
saw that.
Deck for Liberty says, kill the bill. So
yeah, and actually,
we'll have to see how it all shakes out.
Elon posted the little image of Kill Bill. The Tarantino film.
Mm-hmm.
Musk is nobody tweets as fast and as much as this guy. He's
I don't even understand it. It doesn't even make sense to me how he can tweet that much.
I don't know.
I guess he just posts and goes. But no, he doesn't do that because you see him respond to people. It's like, how does this... Whatever. I can't even pretend to understand that productivity.
I think it's because he's not actually as busy as he claims to be.
Oh,
it's like Dawson probably knows about the fake gaming thing where he claimed that he was some pro gamer and it was all fake.
He paid someone to do it for him?
Yeah, that he paid,
There you go. All right.
That's how it is.
Thank you to our great sponsors today, Warren Wessel of Keller Williams Realty. If you're looking to buy a home or sell a home, give Warren a call at 612-419-7453. And thank you to John Galt Mortgage Company for buying a home. Give John Galt Mortgage a chance at financing that home. Go to johngaltmortgage.com. Seriously, guys, use those people. They're on your side. And Alpine Cabin in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I almost forgot. Great city, St. Cloud, Minnesota. I love St. Cloud. No Rumble rants. We got to bring our game back up, Jesse. We're going on a bad streak here. So, message received. Let's go to the post show. Got a couple items to talk about. If you're not a premium subscriber, you can go to truthhurtsnews.com. Click on support us. Otherwise, on Rumble, you can click on join us. Do I have some... I can't remember if I wanted to discuss this yet. I'm probably not ready to go. I'll sort it out in the post show. Hopefully Tushi joins us too. If Tushi, you're watching, let's bring you in. It's been a long time talking. Let's zoom you in. You got the link. So we'll be back. Are we back on Tuesday, Jesse?
Yep.
All right, we'll be back on Tuesday. I missed you so much, man. Yeah, geez, Jesse. It's been so long.
Yep.
We need another Jesse and Will episode. That's right. We do need to get Will back here. I really miss Will. William brings us like straight-laced thing to us, and he always agrees with me anyhow, so it's great. We'll be live on our post show in 1 minute. For everyone else, we'll be back Tuesday. Take care.